2. Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It is that time of the year again where I go up, I go down, I get out, I'm in Cleveland. The next thing you know, it's a little colder out. Sometimes the barbecue's good. But the company for sports is always good. I love having the Cleveland writers and media types on. This guy can be found at 92.3 The Fan, as well as at Right or Wrong Fan out on Twitter. He is pictured in happier times with Jim Brown and LeBron James and the NBA title. But licking the Brown wounds at this point and on the beat of just what's been a disastrous 10 weeks here since we parted last. We welcome Daryl Ruiter back onto the program from the land of Cleve. Happy holidays to you. I am threatening to make it to the Christmas Story house on Sunday. You know I have the leg lamp in the studio, Daryl, so I have a soft spot for Cleveland. But I thought this game was going to mean something. I was hoping just that it meant something on our end. I did not think 10 weeks ago that this is the way it was going to go. I don't know you could write a script for this sort of thing, man.
Yeah, I thought the meeting, the second meeting between the Browns and Ravens was going to be for the AFC North title instead. Baltimore is for the number one seed in the conference, and the Cleveland Browns are now playing out the string of what, as you so aptly put, has been a disastrous season for them. So it's a big one for the Ravens. Certainly the Browns would like to put another feather in their cap and sweep them, but when I look at how these two football teams are playing, I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. But, yeah, a little disappointing that this one will lack the sizzle that everyone thought it might actually have earlier in the year.
Daryl, we've been knowing each other going on a decade here, and I'm sure, I've had you on talking basketball and baseball at various points with the Indians and the Orioles, and when they've intersected, certainly the Browns and the Ravens intersect all the time. You somewhere in the annals of the 0-16s and the 2-14s and all the other mess that you've been subjected to out there, you would have said, just give me a year when they can be 6-8, right? And 6-8 is now a disaster for the Browns fans, right? Like, because the expectation level has been different, because the level of talent is different. Just run me through this over the last 10 weeks. Obviously, you can look down and see that you lost to a duck in Pittsburgh. But what went wrong here, as you would put it for me?
Well, I mean, by Brown standards, they're having a good year, of course, by winning 6-10. Winning 6 games. They escaped the 4-12, 5-11 pothole they used to find themselves in all the time. Certainly out of the 4-44.
Well, they still might find a 6-10 pothole here, right? I mean, that's still possible at this point, right?
Well, the Bengals are wrapping up the season, so I think they'll finish 7-9. But it's disappointing because of the talent. The Browns for years have had a talent deficiency amongst everyone, not only in the AFC North, but just in the National Football League. I mean, they play games where they didn't belong on the same field as their opponent. Whereas this year it's different, and that's why I've been very outspoken and very critical of Freddie Kitchens and the team, because this was supposed to be their year. This was the year that they finally got their act together. They had the talent to compete with the elites in the league, and early in the season they did. I mean, I still can't believe that they boat raced the Ravens in their own building and then proceeded to go on and have their season fall apart the way it did. And I think that the final nail in their coffin was losing at Denver to fall to 2-6 against a backup quarterback for the Broncos, who ended up throwing a couple of touchdown passes. And, as far as what's gone wrong for the Browns, I mean, my goodness, where do we begin? Baker Mayfield has not had a good year. I guess you can call it the sophomore slump. Odell Beckham Jr. has even though he's probably going to get 1,000 yards, he's not been as involved as he probably should have been in the offense. Nick Chubb is the lone bright spot offensively. Defensively, they've had guys drop like flies due to injury, and then of course the whole situation with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph and clocking him on the head with a helmet, being indefinitely suspended. Olivier Vernon, who they traded for and gave up one of their better offensive linemen to get, has a knee injury that's kept him out 5 or 6 weeks. So, I mean, it's just been one problem after another, and add it all up, and you got an unmitigated disaster on your hands. 6-8. Sure, the Browns have had worse years, and no question about it. But I was thinking they'd be 8-6 or 9-5 at this point in the season, and toe to toe with either the Ravens or the Steelers to win the division or compete for a wild card spot, and that has not transpired.
Well, and I think the disappointment over the last 10 weeks, if you go back and look at that box score, if you go back and look at the players that were on the field in that game, where the game was played here, how much the Ravens have changed and morphed, especially defensively from a personnel standpoint, what Wink Martindale has done, but the players are different. The system is different. The way they've chosen the blitz has been the depth. I mean, having Marcus Peters on the back end, that's something they were dreaming about back in week 4.
Right.
It feels different. And then there's the Lamar factor, which, Lamar's played a couple of games against you guys, right? I mean, you've seen him flash a little bit, run around last year a little bit as well. This has become a whole different animal for the way he's seeing defenses, throwing the ball. They're always in these great second and short situations as they were last year, but they're much more effective in the passing game. And, the Mark Ingram factor, just all of it, it's such a machine at this point that all we've got to look to is a missed extra point last week from the best kicker on earth and a blocked punt from a guy who never has punts blocked last week against the Jets on a Thursday night to say we got to tighten that part of our game up. But trying to figure out how I go to Cleveland and somehow my eggnog gets curdled this weekend.
Well, Nick Chubb leads the NFL in rushing. He, as I mentioned, he's been the lone bright spot offensively for the Browns this year. Kareem Hunt has become kind of Baker Mayfield's safety blanket, if you will. And I don't know how the Browns defense is going to stop Lamar Jackson. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals carved him up like a Thanksgiving feast last
Sunday. They look like they quit. I mean, they look like they were disinterested in playing in Arizona the other day.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I don't like using the Q word. Something that was said on Monday by Kareem Hunt that caught my attention was that he didn't feel that a premium effort was given by everybody. As he put it, the 110% required to be successful was not there. That concerns me because that tells you that the players are bailing on the coach a little bit. Jarvis Landry barking in Freddie Kitchens' face. The week before it was David Njoku, who didn't dress against the Cardinals. He barked at Freddie Kitchens, and you have players during games saying things to Freddie Kitchens that would get ordinary people fired from their jobs for insubordination and disrespect. So. I think that the Browns are going to be staring another coaching change in the face, quite frankly. I don't think Freddie Kitchens is really what they're looking for. And
here we go again, right? I mean, you talk about the differences of why the Ravens are the Ravens and the Browns are the Browns. You just got right at the heart of it, Daryl.
Well, but here's the thing. The Ravens hired the right people in the first place, where the Browns continuously don't hire the right people. Like, and continuity for the sake of continuity, that's the only thing Freddie Kitchens has going for him this year. Is he a master tactician? No, he gets outcoached every week. Is the offense that he's in charge of a smooth operation? No, it's embarrassingly sloppy every week, and it's been like that the whole season. Is he a disciplinarian? No, your best defensive player is suspended for losing his cool against the Steelers. The personal foul penalties have been reduced a little bit. So I'll give him credit where that is due, but this is not a well-disciplined team. This is not a team that pays attention to the details of the game. This is not a team that looks like that they put in the extra work that's required to play at a championship level, and it shows week in and week out. And until the Cleveland Browns decide that they want to be at that level, they're never going to get there. And it doesn't matter the talent that they have. And my argument it is, okay, so Freddie Kitchens was given all this talent this year, and they're going to probably win 7 games. So let's assume that John Dorsey has another great offseason of, flipping over segments of the roster and improving and bringing in more talent, et cetera. Freddie Kitchens going to push you over the top next year? Like, what's going to be better? Are the Browns all of a sudden going to become a disciplined team under Freddie Kitchens?
But isn't
Probably
Dorsey
not.
the one to pick Kitchens? I mean, isn't that's
again,
going to be part of the difficulty in all of this,
yep.
right?
Yeah, he's got to explain to ownership now why this hasn't worked. And again, this is the problem that the Browns always find themselves in. They're a franchise stuck in quicksand, Nestor. The harder they kick to get out of the muck, the deeper they slip. You know what I mean? And they are a victim of their own history and the fact that they've had 6 head coaches this decade and will probably have to move on to a 7 and 11 years type situation. Or, the Haslams are probably going to have to fire a guy for the second time after just one season. And, they kept Hugh Jackson too long because, again, they were tormented by their own history of, we don't have the continuity and we're constantly turning it over and whatnot.
Yeah, so are the Dolphins and so are the Cardinals and so are the rest of these teams that really are poorly run and poorly owned. And I don't know how to continue to get past that. I mean, I think the Odell Beckham thing, I saw that as a warning flare. Him coming in that they thought they were going to import Hart from a guy who had been a malcontent with a coach who had no experience dealing with malcontents and was perceived as being the choice of the quarterback. I mean, just all of it read wrong to me in the offseason, but I kept my mouth shut because I respect the talent of all of it. I figured at some point the Browns are going to rise up. I'm a little shocked that I'm coming in at Christmas time and they're not at least a little bit better, and certainly on the back end of the beatdown they gave the Ravens 10 weeks ago.
Yeah, and, I'll say this about Odell. He's been the antithesis of what I anticipated. He's actually been a good teammate. He's not caused problems. He's not popped off in the media criticizing the coach or criticizing Baker Mayfield and doing the things that he was accused of doing in New York. You know what I'm saying?
He did things on the sidelines in New York that made news.
Right, and he's not done that here either. Like, he just, when he's frustrated, he keeps his mouth shut. He just sits on the bench like you saw Sunday in Arizona after the Jarvis Landry blow-up. He just sat on the bench. And, so he's not as, demonstrative and emotional as he was with the Giants. That doesn't mean to say he's happy or thrilled or whatever. And obviously people around him are talking to the national reporters and, relaying his unhappiness with what's going on in Cleveland. But winning cures all. Like, that's the thing. Like, if the Browns were winning, Odell Beckham Jr. would be fine. They're not winning. You know what I mean? So that's the problem is the Browns now finally have talent. And so what they're going to have to figure out now is how to take that talent and start to win football games. And that's, obviously the most difficult part.
He is right or wrong fan. Daryl Ruiter's been my friend for a decade out in the land of Cleve. You can find him out on Twitter opining on all things Browns. Anything you want to say about Lamar watching it from afar? I've given it the Fernando Mania treatment. I don't know what it was like when LeBron came to town for you, and we certainly had Cal Ripken around here, and we had Ray Lewis around here, and Brooks Robinson, and we've had incredible John Ogden. I don't leave anybody out. Ed Reed, I feel like I would leave somebody out, but I'm talking about the next level, the Elvis, the Beatles, whatever that the Bono, whatever that thing is. Lamar has that going for him right now, and it may be short-lived and wherever it is, but certainly over the last 10 weeks, I can't imagine any ascension this side of Kurt Warner that I've seen anything like this.
Yeah, and, the only negative is he's a knee injury away from his game being completely changed. But he is sensational to watch. I love watching Lamar Jackson, and I had my questions last year. We talked about it. I said, hey, he's got to learn how to throw a football accurately and with some zip and that. And he's done that. Like, it's not a gimmick. It's legit. And this is what good coaches do. And again, the Ravens keeping John Harbaugh and not allowing the Browns to get a sniff at him is like the best decision they made.
But it's really hard to be 12-2, right? And when you talk about all the effed upness of the Cleveland Browns and the Haslam family and everything you have fumigated in Berea, time and time again through coach again, even some of my friends like Mike Pettin and Phil Savage and George Kokinis getting swept up in all that out there, at various points, as well as Trent Dilfer and, just a whole bunch of different, former Ravens that wind up in a Browns helmet, Tyrod Taylor for crying out loud. But there is this continuity part of this and this we're going to zig when everyone zags by drafting Lamar, building a team around him with a bunch of tight ends and a bunch of athletic offensive linemen and wide receivers that want to crack down and block, and pick up extra yards and not guys that, like Odell Beckham, need the ball 15 times a game, need to be fed the ball. They're feeding victories around here. And seeing this orchestrated by Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh, Greg Roman, personnel, coaches buying in, people in the building buying in, Marshall Yanda buying in, getting veterans to buy in, that the total buy-in on all of this is really a check mark for the entire organization, as much as you'd say, well, Harbaugh's done a great job, or Eric's done a great job, or Lamar's done a great job, or, you know what? They've all done a great job. That's why they're 12-2.
Yeah, and that, the Ravens are a model organization, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, just like the New England Patriots. When you have the right people in place, and I give John Harbaugh credit because he built that offense, or rebuilt that offense, I should say, to play to Lamar Jackson's strengths and really believed, as you put it, and bought into that we can win this way. And they deserve credit for that. And Lamar Jackson, he's the undisputed MVP. It should be unanimous. I can't think of a player who has impacted their team in such a positive way and led to them being as successful as Lamar Jackson has. So to me, he's the unanimous NFL MVP. And again, Harbaugh deserves credit because he got everybody to buy in. He himself bought in. He built that offense around him, put the player in a position to be successful. Because it would have been easy, for Harbaugh to say, "Hey, no, Lamar, this is how we need you to play. This is, we need you to be a pocket passer, and all these other things." He hadn't done that, and you're seeing in Arizona they're not doing that with Kyler Murray either. And and
that unto itself is making defenses scramble. That's making Greg Williams work hard.
Right, and it's I don't know how the Browns are going to defend him on Sunday. And when I go back and I look at what they did on September 29th and how they were just able to kind of bottle up that Raven offense, I'm actually dumbfounded by it. And, the two bookends, Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon, we'll see if Olivier can go. Probably won't be 100% if he does because, again, he's dealing with a knee injury, but there's no Myles Garrett. So those are, that's one massive chess piece that won't be on the field. So, enjoy it down there. You guys obviously are. And, I don't think anyone's going to want to play that football team in January.
My man, it'll be good to see you in the Christmas Story House and to come into the land of Cleve and get a little taste of that Midwestern spirit of Christmas and the holidays this weekend. I don't know what I'm going to find with the Browns. I certainly would hope that you're not curdling my eggnog or wrecking my gingerbread on Sunday out there, but I do see this as a taller task than the 10 points that Vegas is making it on the road for the Ravens, although the Ravens have been very, very gaudy in some of their road victories. As I'm sitting in the upper deck on that Monday night in Los Angeles and they're winning by 40 points and I'm pinching myself saying, what is going on here? And we're not even sure what to make of this, but the whole city's painted purple, Daryl. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and Freddie Kitchens is on the hot seat here, so he might be coaching for his job on Sunday because, again, if they lose the ball a little more, which I certainly expect them to, that drops them now to 6-9. And would secure the 12th straight losing season and eliminate the Browns from the playoffs, which I think they're going to be eliminated anyway. but neither here nor there. The Browns have been in a giving mood the last 10 weeks or so, and I don't see it changing. This is a season that started out with all kinds of promise and hype and expectations and hope, and it's ending like every other season does in December, going up in flames.
All right. Well, I'm coming to town either way. You can't keep me out of Cleveland. You can't keep me out of Parma. Hey, man, appreciate you as always. We'll send everybody out to follow you. Right or wrong, fan? Here's Daryl Ruiter, 92.3 The Fan, out in the land of Cleve. Happy holidays to you, Daryl. I'll see you on Sunday, man.
Same to you, Nestor.
You got it. I'll bring him some crab chips or something to make him feel at home. Some of my wife's delicious holiday cookies. How about that? Like, I need more cookies around here for the holidays. We're having a good time here this week because the Ravens are 12-2, looking for a bye. I'm headed down to Florida to find hotels and parties and stuff. If you've been on our Whiskey Joe's junket back in 2001, if you were in New Orleans, if you are amongst the 13,000 people that have been on WNST road trips with me since 1996, I am circling the wagons for Festivus 3. Woo! South Florida. Throw me an email, nasty@WNST.net. The buy@Toyota.com audio vault is there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. You can listen to this crazy show from anywhere. You can watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, or just listen out in the buy@Toyota.com audio vault. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, getting you ready for a little Baltimore positive and some Festivus and a bye and home games and all sorts of good stuff.